Played my first GT this weekend. Let's see how I did. All right, so as the title said, I participated in the Ohio Grand Tournament in Glass City. This is the largest tournament in this general area. We had, what I was told, at least the top 20 players in the U.S. at this location. I know a whole team of like 20 people came from Florida. A lot of people were staying in hotels, and even one of the guys from the YouTube channel Art of War 40K came to the location to participate. So a lot of great players here. I was not expecting to win at all. Went 0-5, technically 1-4. I'll speak on that more later. I came in as a team. Me and three other friends, we went as a team. After seeing everyone else in their jerseys, we've decided that we're going to get some jerseys. So it just look a little bit more official, even if we do lose most of the games. But my teammates did really good. A couple of them had a few wins under their belt, so I'm very proud of them. They did great. And yeah, I won pod, and one of my other teammates won their pod as well. All right, so this is my list. It was not the original list I planned on bringing, but since the tournament has already been changed. Starting off with the Lion as my warlord. He has an auto include, because he's a tank and also a scared tactic toward my enemies. He gets blown up within 3. I can up and down to him during my command phase. And it chose the other aura of Martial Exemplar, which lets units reroll melees and wounds of 1. As was the obvious second, he gives me an extra CP, and he is leading a 6-man unit of Inner Circle companions, giving them sustained wounds on all weapons. And the Inner Circle also have -1 to hit, and I get to add 1 to my hit rolls. The Ancient Terminator was new and not in the original list. I chose him instead of the Chaplain for the extra objective control he gives, and he has the enhancement of Deep Strike. Turn 1. He leads a 5-man Deathwind Knights, which are -1 damage, and are tanks in of themselves. The Judiciary leads a 6-man of Blade Guard Vets, and he also gives them fight first. Army Lieutenant is an auto include. I get to choose an objective marker for as long as he is live. I get to reroll wounds of 1 if any units are on that objective marker. And we have an additional 5-man unit of Deathwing Knights, a Desolation Squad, which are new for this list because of their indirect fire. Inceptors also are new for this list. Got them for their 6-inch deep strike. Scouts, which are auto include, and a Calidus Assassin. She's also new to the list. Alright, so pros and cons. Pro, had a fun time. Met some awesome people. I seen different playstyles and learned new tactics. And I won my pod, which I did not expect because I, for one, the con, lost every single game. Everyone there was so nice. They all helped me out a lot. They knew I was struggling to remember all my army's abilities and stuff. Most of them knew them all already. So they were willing to help me out. And at that point, I didn't really care if I lost. I still had fun, learned new things, learned what I hated about my army, which we'll talk about here in a sec. About the pod. I don't really know what a pod was. I guess it's a accumulation of your score and your points for your painted armies. I won that. However, I left early after I lost my last tournament. I didn't know how long it was going to be, so I left. And then my buddies texted me like 2 minutes later that I won the pod, but they give to second place in that pod instead because I was not there. Unfortunate, but it is nice to know that my painted army won me something at a grand tournament. Alright, so this is the day 1 layout. Layout 2, Search and Destroy, and then the third round of the day was Crucible of Battle. On the picture on the right-hand side was the terrain layout and the deployment zones for Game 3. Then on the left was the deployment zones for Games 1 and 2. I personally like the deployment zones on the left. or Search and Destroy over Crucible, simply because you have a closer objective marker to you, and it was easy to score points there and defend. All right, this is game one. I faced Space Wolves, and they had Saga of the Great Wolf. This is his list. All very strong, very fast-moving units. You'll see a trend here. By round three, you only get 3 hours per game, but by round three, we're kind of pushing time, or I was just out of units. So I'm not a fan of talking it out, just because I feel like people get more points than they should. But most of the time, I didn't have any units, so I couldn't really do much anyways. So this is the score. By the end, we had like maybe 45 minutes left. Game two against Astra Militarum. These guys are doing really good right now. But I did a lot better with this guy than the last. But again, numbers killed me this game. He had like 3 transporters. Each one of them had like 10 guys inside. The Bulgarian guys, they're basically Deathwing Knights or Astra Militarum. They were very tanky and hard to get through. But once he pushed up the board, he controlled most of the objectives. And then, yeah, just kind of took it over. I did not take a picture of game one, but here's game two of us just deploying. You can kind of see where I put most of my melee units. And then he has the 2 transports on the left, and then he put his 3 tanks on the right. So either way, he was moving up the board very fast compared to me, because my guys only moved 6 inches, and he had like 10-inch transports. But fun game, very nice guy, helped me out a lot. He knew my stats better than I did. I was very appreciative of that. Oh, everyone here was understanding at this tournament. Very nice. All right, so this is game three against the Adeptus Sororitas. Um, by the time this game even started, I was already annoyed. Not really for losing the games previously, just because the amount of rerolls this kid did was insane. But the Sisters are one tanky team as well. Um, but again, just like the other 2 games, we did the chalk out by round three because I didn't have any units left on the board. Because he would disembark, kill me, and then re-embark in his 3 transports. He didn't even get to use Saint Celestine until like round five. This is kind of like in the middle of the game. I took this picture. You kind of see we were fighting for one of the objective markers on the top, where Morvenn Vahl killed all my knights in one attack. So day two, the deployment was tipping point on layout 6. I definitely like this layout more. I just feel I have better board control. Now, if you pay attention to the thumbnail, this game is where the 1 and 4 came from. Mostly because I did not have an opponent game 4, so this guy was like a filler. So basically, which means if he won, I got his points, and if I won, I got my points. So I couldn't lose the game at all. This is his list, at least to my best ability from remembering, because it was an actual participant. He did not have his list uploaded. So this is just what I seen on the board, and yeah. This is us deploying. You can see he's very heavy, left heavy, and by the end of this, I was very right heavy. Very cool dude. Helped me out a lot as well. But same thing like most games. I just lost characters. I was spread way too thin. And here's a picture of the center objective. I thought this was pretty cool. I had 5 knights and my Judiciary and Blade Guard, multi-charge Calgar in his fixtures guard, and then the Primarch himself in the center. The Judiciary almost one-shotted Gilliman, which I thought would have been pretty sweet, but he had 2 points left, and I failed to shoot him by the end of the game. Also, needless to say, all those units in the middle did not survive toward the end. Actually, my last game of the day was against Grey Knights. This guy was really cool. He was very nice. Probably the most fun I had all week. I honestly thought I was doing well this game. Like, this is probably the best I played all game or all weekend. Especially like during turn two, I scored max on primary. But by round three, I choked. Um, the Deathwing Knights and the Lion failed their 9-inch charge to the center objective. And that once I did that, he just took board control and controlled three or more. He just ran away with it. But it was very close up until round two. All right, so what have I learned this weekend? Well, first, going first or second, to me, didn't really matter. I lost regardless. I didn't believe I would have a better shot going first in some matchups. Numbers win. Most of the games I lost was because of numbers. They just took over the board. They basically pushed me back to my deployment zone. I couldn't do anything. I need to pick up my infiltrators, select my scouts, and my callous assassin. I put my scouts out, and I did not pick them up. They died instantly. I need to pick them up immediately. Deep strike better. I did deep strike good a little bit. Like my inceptors, they did what they needed to do when I drew cards that required me to go into the enemy deployment zone. But like my knights and my lion, I need to do them better as well. Because 9-inch charges are hard, so I need to figure out like drop them behind a unit. That way, if that unit gets charged, I can intervene somehow. Also, just pick one-sided control versus all. I focused too heavily on just trying to kill their armies instead of controlling half of the board. Because like I would see their units on an objective, so in my mind, I'm like, okay, I have to kill that unit in order to win. That wasn't the case. I was spread way too thin, and because they had the numbers over me, I would send one of my units up, and they would send two to spread my unit and still control the objective. I feel like if I controlled my objective, closest one to me, then maybe the center, I'd be good. But I don't have the bodies for that. So speaking of controlling center, I need to send my knights to the center and hide them pretty well. Because once they get center, no one's really going to take them off the board easily. So I feel like sending Deathly Knights to the center and then the lion on the other one would have been a better fit. All right, last but not least, army changes. What have I changed to my army since? Um, I had took out a few guys, brought in some more. I took out the Justiciar and the Blade Guard vets. But instead, put in a chaplain and Terminator armor. Brought in a set of intercessors to hold the home objective. Two squads of assault intercessors with jump packs. That way I have one unit that can move. Kept the Deathwing. Got rid of the Desolation Squad because they were 200 points and they didn't do me any good at all. So I traded them out for some Devastators instead to see how they do. Got the Inner Circle. Got two squads of Ravenwind Black Knights now. And I also dropped the Callous Assassin. But I kept everything else. Kept the Scouts, Inner Circle, the two Deathwing units, the Lion, Kami Lieutenant, Azrael, and then the Ancient. All in all, should be a good list. I still gotta practice a lot, but after that tournament this weekend, my friends and I are just gonna relax and do more of campaign style games. But that was my experience of my first grand tournament ever. Um, it was a fun experience. I can't wait to do it again next year. I'll definitely be doing smaller tournaments locally until then. Learned a lot, had a lot of fun, met a lot of cool people. Wish I stayed to win my pod money. I was very sad about that. But anyways, next time. Well, thanks for watching. Bye.